Death be not proud.
What's up, you subhumanoid ignorant pigs? Welcome to the Holy Diver Show, and we got a lot on today's show, so what's in the queue for today? We're going to have shout-outs and thank yous. We're also going to have a Swordpoint demo, not to mention I'm going to give somewhat of a review for a war game system that was sent to me, and I'm also going to give you some bench updates. So let's get into it. First off, I've got shout-outs and thank yous. I might not go in order here. So one person I got a shout out right now is Peter Don Carolino. He sent me a crap ton of night goblins, and I just got to say thank you. Dude, this is one of the coolest shamans they have, and I wish they still made this model. I just like his giant shark goblin teeth. I have to finish painting this guy today, so he's in the queue, and I will paint all the night goblins you gave me. So I want to appreciate Peter Don Carolino all the way from Holland. Isn't that weird? Thank you for the night goblins. I have a bunch of English Civil War miniatures courtesy of YANKEE Wargamer. Thank you, YANKEE Wargamer. 1,000 times thank you. None of the stuff you gave me will go to waste. Let that be known. He gave me a bunch of English Civil War stuff. He also gave me this English Civil War book. Yes, that is Warhammer English Civil War. And let's see. This is a guy I haven't heard of. Let's see. Who wrote this one? Developed by John Stollard, and I've never heard of him. He must have, and then I think Rick Priestley helped a little bit, but you got a lot of good artwork, and this is back when you'd buy a book from Games Workshop, and you just had volumes of content in it, and it's just amazing the amount of stuff you get in there, and wow, you got scenarios, you got everything in this, and I can't wait to lay this down. But it also talks about subjects that have been on this channel as a reoccurring theme, like painting a wargaming army. You'll never find this in GW books anymore. You don't find this in books anymore. Painting a wargaming army. You don't see that in the Kings of War 3rd edition book at all. So it talks about bases, preparation, undercoat. Let's dive into this just a little bit more. Oh, look, didn't I have a video recently about collecting a wargaming army? I mean, all that advice that you need about collecting. I just don't pull this shit out of my ass. Collecting an army, painting an army. How dare you, Holy Diver? The whole point of this is to buy new stuff and never do anything with it and share that stupid meme of Aragon back and forth 10,000 times in a row. There will be a day where I get all my miniatures painted, but today will not be this day. I tell you, if somebody sends that to me one more time, I'm going to fucking murder them. I'm just gangland style. I go to jail. I serve my nickel. I don't care. And I mean, just a lot of really good pictures in here. I wonder, I mean, just look at this. Just a lot of good pictures in there, a lot of good photos of what miniature wargaming used to look like and everything. But this is a good one right here. This is probably my favorite section of the book coming up here. Oh, look at this. Look, it's reiterated. Painting an army. Look at that. Behold and look at that. Painting an army. Yes, and that is in a Warhammer book. I know that it's hard for some of you subhumanoids to paint an army, but it gives you some really good advice. And, really good stuff in this book. Not to mention, he gave me all the stuff I need for Scott's Covenanters, like the hats and everything. So a lot of my troops are going to look like that with the hats and everything. And I'm also going to continue this London Gray color paint scheme. So nothing you gave me will go to waste, YANKEE Wargamer. Thank you. He also sent me a boatload of miniatures, and even if I have to have some of this commissioned out, it will all get painted and it will all get used. Trust me. Thank you, and thank you, YANKEE Wargamer. Another person I got a shout out is Leon T66. I didn't know you had a channel, bro. I'm so sorry. If you guys have channels, don't be afraid to let me know. I'll subscribe to you. I'll give you some shout outs. I'll do what I can for you. Because we're all in this together. And let's see here. You gave me a set of Napoleonic rules. I took about 35 minutes today to kind of go through them and everything, and I got some minor notes, just some of the glossing over. One of the things I noticed is that fatigued units aren't allowed to do anything. It's kind of my opinion that a fatigued unit within 12 inches of the enemy should either have to turn to face them, or they should always be allowed to back away from the incoming threat. So that you take that with a grain of salt. Just take everything with a grain of salt here. I do like the weaker a unit becomes, the worse its resolve, the worse its leadership gets. So, let's say I had 5 bases of cavalry, of which I just removed 3 in a single phase. Now that unit is weaker. It's got lower leadership. It went from maybe being an 8 with its brigade commander all the way down to a 5. That's kind of a good little thing to have there. And that will also kind of get the game ending. The whole point of getting a war game these days is to get the game to end. To get the game, the bigger the game, the longer the game, but let's say if it's just you and another guy, you want the game to draw to an inevitable conclusion where there's either a clear-cut winner and a clear-cut loser, or it's kind of a draw or a minor victory. You have to have victory conditions. So, God, freezing for some reason. It might be the coffee jitters. I think I got the coffee jitters. Issuing orders. If you're going to include an issuing order system, the orders need to be crystal clear of vagaries. A unit can really, and when you think about a war game, and this is just me over my 20 years of playing games, a unit can really only do 2 things. Move, and that also includes charging, because it's going to automatically fight regardless, but in the system it can really only move and fire. That's really it. They can only move and fire. If you break it down, it can become a lot of several little things, but it can either move or fire. So if you're going to have an order system, you have to make sure that they do not have vagaries in their orders. So it's like, okay, here's an example of an order. I order my French Hussars to turn to the left and fire pistols into the Russian infantry. So I have some parameters for orders set in such a way a player may only have 2 outcomes, A plus B equals C, but there is no if clause in the orders for D at all. It's just A plus B equals C with no if clause. And this is just me. I wouldn't have units test for orders. That's kind of like a Hail Caesar thing. A lot of war games do this. They want you to test to see if you can do anything. But if you don't have to do anything, it's a bit like Kings of War. It's a bit like Warhammer, where you just you can always state to your opponent. That could be a rule where you have to state what you're gonna do before you do it. So I want these guys to move up to the top of the hill and form a line. Boom. If they've got the actions to do that, they can do it. That sort of thing. Or I want my cavalry to turn right and charge any enemy they see, and if they have the actions to carry that out, they do it. That sort of thing. Or I need my infantry to turn to the left and present a volley fire. So A plus B equals C. Orders should always be framed in that way with no if clause for D. Roll 2d6. Oh yeah, that's the leadership thing. Okay, yeah, that was the what do you call it? The leadership thing. So that's just my first little page of notes. I do like how CQC works out and everything. You need to have some diagrams. I know that you said somewhere that the diagrams are to follow. So if you have if you have 2 bases touching, it's however many attacks that are to those bases, which is pretty straightforward. So if I have a unit of heavy cavalry, it's got attacks 3 and wounds of 4. So it's going to throw 3 dice on the attacks to whatever it's fighting, and it will hit you on a... It'll hit you with a cavalry saber on a 3 if it's heavy. If it's a heavy cavalry saber, so you do mention that. Let's see, and then you have also that rock paper scissors system. You roll a d6 to back away, and if they catch you, you're dead. That's good. I like that. It's very cutthroat, but what that does is. What that totally does is make the game go faster. Getting units off the table as quickly as you put them on can make the game go a little bit faster, and it can also inevitably deliver you to the result of who wins and who loses. Shooting, the appropriate number of d6s that can be fired per base. That's pretty good. Closing fire on 6s. It's your choice about the action system, the aim, load, shoot thing. If you want to have that, that's your choice. You know, I just figured, in my opinion, like, soldiers are going to fire anyway. They're going to spend a turn. They're going to spend the opponent's turn reloading as they get shot at, and then they're just going to fire again. So reloading is something that they automatically do. But the using an action to aim your weapons to get a +1 to hit. Pretty good, you know. So if you have a static line and they haven't moved, they can aim their weapons and shoot. That's pretty cool. You know, just sort of glossing over this. And then brigade, you have 3 commanders. So you have 3 systems for command. You have brigade command, you have the general, brigade commanders, and unit leaders. I don't think that the unit leaders should ever be killed. I think that they're just basically the non-coms inside of the units. So because if I remember around this time frame, if you were a standard bearer, I think they always put 2 sergeants next to the standard bearer, and because you were only armed with a saber and a pistol, and that's what you had as a standard bearer. And the 2 sergeants, it was the job of 2 sergeants, bigger guys, to protect you. And you do have the to hit values for the weapons and everything. It's a 5+ for a bayonet. A light cavalry saber is a 4+. So a lot of this is good, straightforward stuff. So you get points there for that. You want to be able to pick up a game quickly. When you buy a book for the first time, you want to be able to play through very quickly and have stuff be straightforward. So saying what weapon does what and everything and who hits on what, that might also be something to put next to the units as well when you actually get this whole book flushed out. So it's like, oh, these are French heavy cavalry. They have the saber. It hits on a 3+. And the unit has 3 attacks that hit on 3s. So I like the way you break down points and everything. So if I have heavy regular cavalry, it's 55 points for base. Each base has 4 wounds. And then I would need 3 bases for a battalion. A unit is a battalion, so that's 165 points. You times that by 3, that's 495, and then perhaps I get a colonel to lead them. I don't know if I have to buy the colonel's horse or not, but that's 515 points. So you have 3 units of cavalry, and let's see, that's 2 guys per base. So that's 2, 4, 6. That's 18 guys. That's pretty good. The table doesn't need to be so crowded. And a small game is actually pretty good. And then let's say you have for infantry, you also have an infantry brigade that is also, I don't have those points cost, but it's the equivalent of you have probably 24 guys in a line, you know, and however much they cost. You know, and that could be the entire game. You can play a Napoleonic game with anywhere from 75 to 125 per side, and that's actually pretty good. 75 models is a pretty good. 75 models per side on a 6x4 is a pretty good number. So, I'd like to, if I had some Napoleonics, I'd like to play it. You can always send me an army. I'm just saying. But overall, I kind of like the direction you're going. So those are just my quick notes on that. Thank you for filming some of that book for me, and let me take a look at it that you have for Forgotten Realms. As for projects and everything, I've still got these ghouls. And I'm going to be finishing the last 5 of my Macedonians today. Once the Macedonians are out of the way, once they're completely out of the way, I am going to, I'm actually gonna put some paint on my last 2 Lizardmen characters, and then I only need 3 models for my Lizardmen. So if anybody has any Seraphon Razagors or Salamanders, you know, the deadly giant things. I have skinks for those, but I don't have any actual Razodons or Salamanders. So if you have anything sitting in the volumes, I could really use that stuff. And then I've got the Night Goblins I'm going to finish. So I have side projects that I need to finish before I get to my primary projects. My primary projects being my Macedonians. They're going to be taking up all of my time this winter, at least into January. I want to paint at least 24 cavalry. I want to paint the rest of my phalangites, and I want to get some hypastists down on the field and everything. And then after they're done, I'm going to focus on ECW. But before I get there, I've got to finish all my side projects, which are the current Night Goblins I have open, the Ghouls, and the Macedonians, and these 2 Lizardmen. And then once you have no side projects, you go into a big project. So I want to thank, again, Yankee Wargamer, Leon T66, and Peter Don Carolino from Holland for the stuff and the look at the book, getting a look at your book and everything. Other than that, I have a Swordpoint demo, and we'll be back for a summation. And so here is the Swordpoint demo for close combat. So for the purposes of this demonstration, you have a giant combat where you have overlapping fields of soldiers, not to mention you have everybody within 1 inch of one another laterally. This comes into play for line of battle special rules, all right? We're going to say that the Celts, being the barbarians, they're the aggressors, they charge this turn. We're also going to say that the units are nobles armed with double-handed swords and axes. Not to mention, we're also going to say that the Romans are veteran soldiers, and they have heavy throwing spears. As you can see that the Romans have been flanked. You have an unengaged unit of auxiliary that are also in line of battle. You have 3 tokens per side, as you can see here. Each side has a commander fighting. And so what we're going to do is we're going to get into who has what attacks and how everything will work. We're going to say that this unit here, they're just normal regulars. They are not veterans. We'll make these 2 units veterans. So let's see. Let's start with the left here. You have 2 per base of Celts. So you have everybody's on 40mm squares. I'm a little bit different. I have to get a couple more individuals for this army. And then behind it you have 3 supports. All right, we have 1 corner touching here. Let's put a little bit of extra pressure on that and waste 1 attack base into here, because this is where their commander is fighting. All right, so we're gonna roll up with that. We charge, we need 4s, and that is a terrible roll. Even with all the chances we had. And we do 2 wounds. Romans are going to need a 6 will save, so they've taken 1, and then they're going to take 3 from the side. Which, ouch, that hurts there. Romans are going to take 3 saves. And they're taking 2, so that's 3 casualties onto there. And then over here, because this used a base, we got 1, 2 up front, and 3 supports. They're coming in with great weapons. Some pretty good ones. Romans are going to have to make 5 saves, of which they do not make 5 of them. So they're going to take 5 wounds into this unit here. And that will kill a base before they get to fight back. Alright? Working our way down the line, we get to this combat. We have the commander. We'll just do his attacks now, of which he misses. And then we're going to have 2 up front, 3 up front. And then we're also going to have 3 in back with 1 support from this corner to corner here. All right, 4s. Not a bad roll. And it looks like the Romans are going to have to take 6 saves. Doing pretty good, but still taking 4. And 3. After that, it's the Romans' turn to fight back. All right? Now, we're going to look at some of these combats. These guys have lost a base before it gets to fight. So they're going to have 2, 2, and 2, and they're going to only have 2 supports. However, they are armed with the heavy throwing spears, and that generates the heavy throwing spears here. In the first round of combat, units armed with throwing spears or heavy throwing spears gain 1 extra dice for every 2 bases fighting, rounding up fractions so that 3 infantry bases would, for example, throw 8 dice. And because we have more than 3, we have supports in there, and we've lost 1, so we take 1 out. We're going to retaliate back into these guys. We need 4s. And we only do 2. It's a very terrible roll for the Romans. And the Celts, they need to save this on 6s. They only have a mail shirt. So they're taking 2 casualties there. Alright? And then we go to this fight here. All the Romans are going to attack in there. So this is a normal combat for the Romans. They got 2 up front, 2 up front, 2 up front. And that's 2 attacks per 40 millimeter square. You have 3 supports and 2 heavy throwing spears. They're going to attack there. And they're superior, and this is a superior unit, so they hit on 3s. Shouldn't have re-rolled that, I should have just taken it. Alright. So the Celts here are going to have to take 6. Oh, and they make a great deal of saves. And they're taking 3. And then over here we got Romans fighting there. So because they are flanked, normally we would have 6 attacks coming up front with 2 throwing spears. But because this base is flanked, and normally you'd have to take a cohesion test for the flank charge here, except against unformed skirmishers. We're going to lose an attack, and that's going to go to supports. Alright? And we need 3s. And that's a pretty good one for the Romans. The Celts here might be taking a licking. 8 wounds. Needing 6s, which they get 1. So that's going to, and then the general, he actually hits twice. And so they're going to lose 2 bases out of that for 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, both sides have used their push tokens. Both sides' commanders have attacked. Let's tally everything up, and we'll be right back. So I have all the appropriate markers down. This one only has 4 bases left. They lost 2 40 millimeter squares. This one has the extra wounds will all fall off. Each side only did 13. Now, because the Romans were charged by an opponent that has the warband special rule, they're going to read they're going to read the line 1 lower. So basically, they win by 1 because of the flank. And according to the chart here, in the combat results, when you read the line 1 lower, the Romans will be forced to fall back and become disorganized. And that is the warband special rule on page 28. Units fighting or charging warbands read the result one line lower than usual. So they go from being result of a 0 to the result of 2. And then when you divide it by line of battle, what is 2 divided by 1? It's 1. So you go down 1 and you continue fighting. But let's say that the Romans mutilated them. All right, we killed a base here and a base here. And the Romans actually win the combat by, it was 13 to 13, so we got 14, 15, 16, 17. All right, so the Romans win the combat by 4. And because you had the flank, you only win by 1. And so let's see here, flank is -1, you win by 3. You divide that by 4, and you continue fighting as usual. And that's how line of battle works. It just basically makes you a little bit more solid. You really have to score a massacre in this situation in order to get one side to break and flee. I mean, you'd have to let's say, I don't know, score. Let's say that let's take off some of the wounds for the Romans here, and we'll say that the Romans only took an even 8 wounds total. All right. All right, 9. Okay, and then you -1 for the flank, so it's 8. All right, so now the Celts lose by 8, and because of line of battle, we have 4 formed units of infantry. You divide 8 by, oh yeah, and we took the 9 off, so it's 8. You divide that by 4, you come up with 2, which is a far better result than take a break test, if passed, fall back and become discouraged and continue fighting. So let's say that the Celts end up becoming discouraged and they just fall back 4 inches. All right, we're going to get rid of these markers real fast. All right, and then at your discretion, because the push tokens, they cancel. You have to use your push tokens as you see fit on the way in, before you even roll dice. All right. So the Celts all move back 4 inches and are now discouraged. Okay. Boom. Boom. Fall. The Romans have some choices to make. They can stay where they are and form a more cohesive line, and then give the Celts a turn to recover, or they can stick with them. Well, the Romans, being Romans, are most likely, right? Now these guys on the flank here, they're also going to go back 4 inches, which is okay because they're just pesky little skirmishers. They don't really cause me any, I don't pay them no mind. And then you're going to come in, and then you reform a new line of battle, and everybody comes up. But now this unit is no longer in line of battle, and because the Celts charged, it's the Romans' turn. So about, the only movement you have is we'll just go 8 inches forward to reform the line, and then these guys, if they want to get off the discouragement, they have to sit there for a turn and do nothing. And that's basically how line of battle works, and it can go back and forth. You keep the markers with you. Superfluous casualties fall off. And we could always just say that, each Celt regiment lost a base, And then you put the appropriate marker out. And when I get some more Celts, I could actually take out bases, but because I base them like this, it's a little hard.
but I still have a lot of flexibility with one big square like that. And that is basically the demo for line of battle and anything. Let me know if I did something wrong, and let me know what you liked about line of battle and everything. And one thing I do like about Swordpoint is that the units are a little bit more durable, and heavy infantry is very hard to kill. And that's kind of why I armed the Celts with mail. I made them all nobles, and I gave them chainmail shirts and the option of double-handed weapons so that they can punch through the armor a little bit and have that initial oomph that they needed. So hope you enjoyed this demo. We'll be back for a summation.
I hope you enjoyed that Swordpoint demo. I did accidentally put out a few extra wound markers, so for the Celts that were flanking and everything, when you're a skirmisher unit in open order, you always read the line, what do you call it, one lower than everybody else. You do get the benefit of line of battle, but they were not within an inch laterally, so what happened to them is they have to move 4 inches back, and they have to spend one turn doing nothing. So that's what happened to the Celts on the side. And you can move things in and out of line of battle at your discretion. So if I only wanted to move one unit of legionaries up there, I could have done that, but then I would no longer have line of battle with that one unit. Especially if I just pushed my center unit up there. So other than that, Swordpoint, it's one of those games that it's really good. The book is just poorly worded, and I kind of spent Friday and Saturday, because I have a lot of lines to wait in when I'm at work and everything, getting loaded and stuff. I kind of spent Friday and Saturday just figuring out the finer points, because some of these rules come into it subtly, and it's a good book, but it's not really well worded. And so what I think that if they, which they already did do a second edition book, I hope they cleared up some of those vagaries and really kind of don't be afraid to use bold print in your book. In any case, YouTube has many features you can use to interact with me. You can like the video, dislike the video, comment, or subscribe. But until I see you again, I hope you enjoyed the Hobby Ramble show, and stay metal, my friends.
I'm more of an expert at exposing the moon. Get out of here, let's go! See if you can find the one crater.